Paris was the setting for the launch of the new FIA GT1 World Championship. The new series has attracted several new cars built to the revamped GT1 regulations, as well as existing cars running under modified rules. The new series was launched by FIA President John Todt.
To be inside of the FIA Championships, I mean, we know that we have all been dreaming, and we are all dreaming about those beautiful cars. And this calendar, 10 races, I mean, I heard 5 hours, 10 minutes for, the total weekend with 12 teams, 6 brands. I am sure it will be very spectacular.
The series will be run over 10 rounds, starting in Abu Dhabi on April 17th. Series organiser Stephane Ratel has high ambitions for the new series.
If you ask me what our ultimate goal is, I think our grandfather had it right at the time. In the 50s, there was one championship for drivers, the World Driver Championship, and it was Formula One, and there was a World Championship for brands, and it was sports car. Our ambition is that we will be the World Championship for brands.
Ratel has made no secret of his desire to stage a round of the new championship here in Australia. In fact, he was hoping to be at the Gold Coast this year.
It was part of my plan for this year already, because we had the big ambition to launch the championship on all 5 continents from year one. So we do have a race in Asia, we have races in America, we even have Africa with Durban, we obviously have Europe. So Australia was the one missing, and I visited Australia twice in the last couple of years, and I think I've talked to many promoters. I had a lot of hopes that something will come together, and the last one was to join Surfers Paradise, but as you know better than anybody, they finally decided to do V8 only, so we won't be coming this year. I can't tell you about the future. On some circuit there are homologation problems because we got to be FIA homologated, and some circuits such as Phillip Island or Bathurst would be great places, but you need massive amounts of work to make them FIA homologated. Some others are very focused on V8, which I understand because it's a super series in Australia and so popular, but I hope we'll have the opportunity to come.
The Gold Coast was mentioned. The Queensland government have said on a number of occasions that they're very keen to have an international formula replace both the Indy cars and the failed A1 GP. From your point of view, though, with the V8s, Tony Cochrane has made it very clear that any sort of international category that would come would, in his opinion, be required to virtually play second fiddle to the V8 supercars. From your point of view, is that something that you could live with, and have you spoken with Tony Cochrane about?
We don't have a problem sharing the bill. The important is to be in big events with lots of spectators. Anyway, as we're racing in Australia, time zone doesn't matter for TV broadcast, so we're not going to be fighting over being at 2 o'clock or at 4 o'clock or at 10 o'clock. It was never the issue. I personally think that we were an excellent fit for any big event in Australia because we already have a number of brands. I mean, V8 is about very famous drivers in Australia, and it's also two brands only, Ford and Holden, and we have already 6 brands, and our ambition is to get many more in the year to come, and important manufacturers which could bring a lot to an event. More brands you have, more advertising they invite their network, they invite their client. I think it's a good potential for a big event in Australia, and I'm quite confident that one day common sense will prevail and will be invited to come.
You mentioned, the V8 supercars are, of course, just had a couple of rounds in the Middle East. They're talking about further expansion into the Asia-Pacific region. You mentioned races in Asia. You've also announced the GT4 Championship over there. Where do you see the future of racing? And once again, where does that fit into your plans for both this championship and the other series that you're a part of? Where do you see Asia-Pacific and Middle East fitting into all of that?
I mean, if you see where Formula One's moving, it's obvious that we probably have a good future in Asia. I mean, we already have Nissan as a major Asian manufacturers, and at the press conference, Mr. Sanada, the president of Nismo, mentioned that he would like a race in Japan. I think, as we've seen in Abu Dhabi, we become quite, when government build these huge circuits, investment, and for Formula One, then they look for other key categories, and I think V8, I mean, if you look at the choice at Abu Dhabi, they choose V8 and GT1, and I think it's quite a logical choice, and because they are two very strong series at the moment, and I hope that on all these big events being built in Asia, we'll have a number of them which will be interested to have us on their circuit.
We mentioned that you had the launch last week in Paris, and we've got footage of that on tonight's program. As far as a lot of people would say, this is a very, very strange and rather risky time to be starting a venture as big as a new World Championship, a new World Motor Racing Championship with the current economic conditions. Was there any consideration given to perhaps postponing things and putting it off until things get a little bit better?
No, never, because I think that every crisis creates opportunities. When I started in this business 15 years ago, I mean, I was in partnership with Bernie Ecclestone, and it was a very clear field. You had very few series. Since then, the number of series, especially in Europe, have absolutely multiplied, and it has been a real struggle to get airtime on TV, to get events, because there were too much competition. And I think seeing series like such as A1 GP disappearing, and that give us more opportunity, and the best should succeed, and we hope will be the best. It's our ambition, and so I think it was no time for delay, and we proved it. I mean, we do have 10 events on 4 continents. We do have 24 cars equally representing 6 brands. So I mean, up to now, we're exactly spot on what we wanted.